Hi, welcome to Cracking the Codex Tau Empire. This is the second video for the Mont'ka detachment. Last week we did a general overview with our guest Jack. Jack's been playing Tau for basically since he came into Warhammer 40k, so definitely worth checking that one out. These videos are all released a little ahead of time. If you are a member of the Captain tier, feel free to subscribe and help us out that way, or if not, give us a like, follow, all the usual YouTube good stuff. So, Mont'ka, how are you feeling about that?
So for me, this feels more where I'd like the buff to be. So turns 1, 2, and 3 feels like my go turns, right?
Yeah, this is when you affect the game.
Yeah. Whilst waiting until turn 3 feels always a little bit like, oof. So yeah, I'm quite excited for this one.
Yeah, 100%. I like it. I think it's my favorite out of all of them. I like the theming of the retaliation cadre, which we will get to in maybe next week. But I think the rules on this just play better. It has more of a toolbox.
Yes. And it doesn't skew into a keyword, which I think is nice. It feels like you can do it more of a mixed arms sort of force.
One of them, not the list we have here, but one of the lists I wrote had no crisis suits at all, which was, yeah, it felt freeing, honestly.
Well, sometimes it's nice not to feel like, as we've discussed previously with Dark Angels, not having to feel obliged to put a big brick of 10 Deathwing Knights into lists felt very nice, because suddenly I have these points to play with. And I think Tau players, once they get past the morning phase, are going to suddenly go, I've got points to spend. And then you got some nice new toys to play with, which is really cool.
Yes, I'm well past the morning phase. It is our evening and we're recording. So, moving on, we have got the greater good. We have summarized it here for you. Basically, the way it works, select 2 of your units and 1 enemy unit that is visible to both. Your units have to be eligible to shoot. Then you pick one of the 2 units of your units that you selected. One of them is guided, the other is the observer unit. The guided unit gets +1 ballistic skill when shooting at the spotted unit, but -1 ballistic skill when shooting at anything else in the phase. And if the observer unit has the marker-like keyword, the guided unit ignores cover against the spotted unit. Then on top of that, there are a couple of units that give you additional buffs if you are spotting with them, such as Tetras and Stealth Suits, which make you more efficient at shooting. Basically, the way this works is you pair up your units and you try to focus down very specific units in your opponent's army.
Yeah.
Main downside to this one, not so much now that there's, specific crisis units that are tooled out specifically to do a thing, but you sometimes have models and units in your army that have guns that want to go into a variety of targets, and it feels a bit rough when you're, hitting your main target on 3s, but hitting the chaff that you're just shooting your small arms fire into on 5s. Not a huge fan of that.
So that kind of makes me instantly go, if I'm having a secondary weapon, can it be torrent weapons type of thing? It's like finding ways around that immediately, right?
Not a bad shout. All right, and being Mont'ka, what you get, as you mentioned, it's the first 3 battle rounds. First, second battle, third battle round. Ranged weapons equipped by Tau model units. Tau units have lethal hits. Tau model units, I'm going to run with that. So they get lethal hits. While they are guided, they also get assault. This is interesting because it makes it... It probably should be fixed in a way that all your units get assault so that advancing units can also spot. I think that might be coming in an FAQ, but we'll just see. As it plays at the moment, you get assault on all your guns so you can go fast, and you get lethal hits on your guns so you can wound things that you struggled with, which is nice because there's a lot of sort of strength 8 or around that sort of benchmark in the Tau Codex.
Tasty.
You also get a suite of enhancements and stratagems that are not bad. What do we got to start with?
So we've got Exemplar of the Mont'ka, which is Tau Empire models only, excluding Kroot Shaper models. So we now have, is it 3 different types of Shapers?
Yeah, let's talk about this. We've got 3 Kroot Shapers, and then we've got 1 Kroot model that is not the Shaper. I've forgotten the name of it. It's like the Dark Lance or something like that. It's the Lone Op one.
Yeah.
That's not a Kroot Shaper, so that gets around the enhancement here. Obviously, in this case, for now, yes, I wouldn't be surprised if that gets FAQ'd. But yeah, what does this enhancement bring to us?
So while the bearer is leading a unit, the killing below detachment rule applies to that unit during the 4th battle round as well. So instead of it being 3 out of 5 times you get to use it, it's almost the entire battle. So by turn 5, there's probably not much left on the battlefield anyway. But that's nice, right? It just gives you a little bit more of a.
Here's the thing.
help.
In the carry on detachment, the mirror of this, which lets you get the carry on bonus turn 2 onwards, is great because turn 2, that's impactful. You're able to use it. You can deep strike in turn 2, yada yada. Turn 4, I don't know if this unit's going to be alive. I don't know if my opponent's going to be alive because I am going to try and table them with this detachment.
Yeah.
I don't love it. I don't see this being one that I take. It's
It feels like a nice thing to have, but it's a win more thing again, right? Like everything needs to be going well, and they are on the table. Which
I think if you still had the big unit of 6 battle suits tooled to the 9s, maybe I could see a case for it because you were going to try and protect that. But I think with your smaller units, you might try and fire and forget them. So less of a use for this one.
Yeah.
Moving on, strike swiftly.
So this is Tau Empire model only. This could work on a Shaper by that logic. At the start of the battle, before any moves are made using the Scout's ability, you can select up to 2 friendly Tau Empire units that are within 6 of the bearer that do not have the Scout's ability. Until the end of the battle, all models in the selected units have the Scout's 6-inch ability. So this is quite handy.
Yes.
So you know whether you're going first or not, because that's just when Scout moves are done. So you could then be very aggressive, or if you know you're going second, very defensive as well.
If ask any World Data player, getting those turn 1 charges off is huge, and I'm sure Tau players will love getting those turn 1 charges off. More serious answer, this is really nice to make aggressive moves with Devilfish with breaches inside. Being able to, if you go first, move, you scout 6 inches, then move the full Devilfish move, also advance, then disembark 3, the unit inside, then lining up their shots. It's
that nice
tasty.
unpacking, right? Because if you've got some very nice defensive deployment, just in case, you deploy defensively, and then depending on how you then want to act in your first turn, knowing where they've positioned after you've dropped even, you can then go, right, you didn't think I could see you. 6 inches and a move, and maybe assaulting as well, with having it like assault weapons. Suddenly you can get those angles you might not have been able to possibly have been considered initially.
Helps get around the issues that Tau have with moving vehicles around terrain, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And then Strategic Conqueror, which is another Tau Empire model only. At the start of the first battle round, before the first battle round begins, select one objective marker on the battlefield, while a friendly Tau Empire model is within range of that objective marker, and the bearer is on the battlefield. Add 1 to the friendly model's objective control characteristic. So a clarification on that is they have to be on the battlefield, so they cannot be in a transport, and they cannot be in reserves because that counts as you not being on the battlefield. So,
yep. So if we talk about how 10th edition is a bit play by numbers, typically you have 3 objectives in the center. One is defensively positioned for you with terrain. One is defensively positioned for your opponent. And you might not necessarily interact with theirs, and they might not interact with yours all that much. So that's a fairly safe objective. It's quite easy to hold on to. The fighting usually happens over the middle.
Yeah.
So just make your units better on the middle. Win-win. It feels in a way it reads add 1 to OC when you're trying to beat your opponent at the objective game.
Yeah.
I like it.
It just feels like one that you build your list around, especially if you've got something aggressive like a character leading something that's going to want to be right in the middle immediately, or
so the character can be just like a lone up character in your deployment zone, and then you don't have to be near
it's that way around, so it could be an ethereal hiding on your back home objective if you needed it to be.
Yeah, or the lone up recruit. There's a lot of options that you can put this on, which is quite nice.
Yeah, solid.
Yeah, I will, the first time I use this at a tournament, feel like I have to put it on my opponent's deployment zone objective, just to make them sweat.
Whilst then scout moving and going straight towards it. Yeah, see it.
Yeah.
So next one is Coordinated Exploitation. So again, Tau Empire models only, no Recruit Shapers. While the bearer is leading a unit, each time that unit is an observer unit, until the end of the phase, ranged weapons equipped by models in that their guided unit have sustained hits 1 ability whilst targeting their spotted unit. So it's a mini Carrion almost, is the way I saw this.
Yeah, no, it's nice. I think this goes in every one of my lists. Just making sure that you're getting a little bit more damage. Now, Tau don't have a big I win delete button anymore. So being able to maximize the smaller units is very valuable, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also because it's you put it on a unit that is the observer unit. In theory, you can get maximum value out of this because you can use that unit more defensively from a longer range and play aggressively with the other units. How that works out in practice, especially on something like UKTC, where there's a lot of sort of broken lines of fire,
Yeah.
remains to be seen. I
Yeah.
think it's still good though.
Yeah. It's a nice tool to have.
Absolutely. All right, so solid enhancements, but the stratagems are pretty good as well. What do we got?
Right, so battle tactics. It's actually 4 out of the 6 are battle tactics, which is quite interesting to see. So there is a way to have a unit getting things for
Farsight,
free.
yeah. Commander Farsight gives his unit a free battle tactic every turn, which is quite nice to have.
Yeah. So, and more importantly, these are ones that, if they're all good, it's going to be hard for people to use Vect-like abilities because they'll struggle to kind of pick which of the 4 is more kind of impactful, I suppose. So we'll start from the top. Pinpoint counteroffensive is 1 CP. Any phase, one Tau Empire unit, excluding crew units from your army that was destroyed. Use this stratagem even though it was just destroyed. The effect is until the end of the battle, each time a Tau Empire unit, apart from crew, from your army makes an attack that targets the enemy unit that destroyed your unit, you can reroll the hit roll. So
yeah. So we talked about this in the first episode, and Jack pointed out that you can just take a Piranha, which is cheap. You can scout it up the board. You can turn 1 charge that brick of Wardens with Trajan in it. Spend a CP. For the rest of the game, you just get full hit rerolls against that brick. Very nice.
The reason I was just looking behind me is since the show last week, I was bought a Piranha, and it's going to be used for that purpose. So I just thought that was quite a funny little thing to mention. Right, next strat, aggressive mobility, another battle tactic for 1 CP. In your movement phase, 1 Tau Empire unit from your army that has not been selected to move this phase. Until the end of the phase, if you advance, you auto-advance 6, which is nice.
Incredible.
So, again, gets around that problem that Tau have of movement not always being their forte. So,
you know where this is really good? Battle suits. Over doubles their movement. As in broadside battle suits, sorry, I should say. Normal battle suits, it's nice. Just being able to reliably say, oh, I needed a 4 on the dice to get me onto this point, or I needed a 4 to, get me line of sight into this unit. I can just spend a CP, great. Or you can just do it on broadside and go, cool. That unit that you feel like is very slow is not slow at all.
Yeah.
Also, I have assault guns because I'm in Mont'ka.
Yeah. And then the next one, focused fire, is a battle tactic again for 1 CP. It's at the start of your shooting phase, 2 Tau Empire units from your army that have not been selected to shoot, and 1 enemy unit. Until the end of the phase, each time either modeling either of the units makes an attack, they can only target that enemy unit. And when they do, improve the AP by 1. You cannot use this in the 4th and 5th battle round, so it's very much when you're in Mont'ka. So even if you've got it for that unit for turn 4, this strat would not trigger, unfortunately.
Yes.
Which is a shame.
So key to note as well, Farsight can't make this strat free because it targets 2 units, and that goes against the wording of. However, this is great. This is a really good stratagem. You want to be using this on high output broadside battle suits. You want to be using this on 2 units of breaches. You want to be using this on anything that isn't melter, basically. There's a lot of usability in it. Tau has a lot of sort of high output but low to medium AP units, and this is a strat that really pushes them into that sort of damage range you want.
Indeed. Right, so for the next one is combat debarkation, which another 1 CP battle tactic. It's in your shooting phase, 1 Tau Empire infantry unit that has disembarked from a transport this turn. Until the end of the phase, each time a model from that unit makes an attack that targets the closest enemy unit, you can re-roll the wound roll. So in my head, I see this as something coming out of a Devilfish, be it breaches, maybe even a strike team.
Yeah,
Very
so
handy, right?
the slightly weird thing about this strat is breaches already get to re-roll wounds if they're targeting something that's on an objective.
Yeah.
Which is nice. However, this frees them up a little bit. So sometimes you need to kill something that isn't where you'd expect it to be, or it isn't on an objective. So giving you that little bit of output makes it harder for a good opponent to play against you. theoretically, you tell your opponent what breaches do, and they go, okay, cool. So I'll put some chaff on the objective, and I'll put the good thing behind it. You'll kill the chaff. You won't kill the good unit. Now they're in a good spot.
It does force you to spend the CP that way, so at least they can feel like they're getting you to spend as well, I suppose.
I really like it in the toolbox.
Yeah.
I think it gives you that good reliability.
Yeah, it's flexibility.
Also, if you wanted to take Pathfinders and you really wanted to go deep into the scout move, because you could scout 2 units of Breaches and Devilfish using the enhancement, and then you could scout a couple of units of Pathfinders and Devilfish as well. It makes their damage much more significant when they disembark. So you can go for that turn 1 alpha strike in a way that the other detachments in the book can't really do.
Yeah, you get me excited because Breach Fish is a lifestyle choice I definitely want to embrace.
So. Yeah, I have something like 30 of them.
Right, so moving on. The next one is a non-battle tactic. So this is Pulse Onslaught for 1 CP. In your shooting phase, 1 Tau Empire infantry unit, excluding crew, from your army that has not shot, and 1 enemy unit, excluding monsters and vehicles, hit by 1 or more of those attacks. Until the end of your opponent's next turn, that unit is shaken. Whilst the unit is shaken, it's -2 move and subtract 2 from its advance and charge rolls made for it. So it's giving Tau access to those horrible things that a lot of no line of sight shooting guys have got in all those horrible bully factions. But it's a little bit easier to peg at someone potentially. So
yeah, it's an interesting strat because in theory I want my breaches to shoot at something that they're going to kill. However, having the flexibility to go, I'm just going to tag that unit there. That's the Nightmare unit. Let's say the Trajan plus Warden Brick that I want to keep away from the center as long as possible. I'm going to move block them. I'm going to use this strat to reduce their movement. It's a good toolbox one to have.
Yeah, because when you don't necessarily have the output potentially to kill that sort of a unit, it's then utilizing it as a different tool.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it's embracing it, knowing you're not going to kill it. Don't try to.
If you go really aggressive with breaches, you're not going to kill their big tanky units. You are going to kill all their scoring units. You are going to move block them, and potentially, if they went first and they're coming into turn 2, you are going to deny them primary, maybe even on their home objective. This is where putting that enhancement for +1 OC on your opponent's objective can actually pay off. Yeah.
Yes. Right. And then finally, counterfire defense systems. So another strat. This, unfortunately, on the it says 1 CP, but it's actually 2. This is in your opponent's shooting phase, just after an enemy unit has selected its targets. 1 Tau Empire unit from your army that was selected as the target of 1 or more of their unit's attacks. Until the end of the phase, each time an attack is allocated to them, -1 to the damage of that attack.
It's -1 damage.
Something special, right?
It's really good.
2 CP is a bit expensive, but it's worth every penny in my mind.
It is expensive, but your units are so already unreasonably tanky in terms of what the base damage needed to push through is.
Yes.
So especially if you're looking at I've forgotten the name of them, the crisis suits with the melter and the 4-up invuln, you're looking at, you've got 5 wounds. If they have 3 damage weapons, instead of taking 6 wounds, 3 failed invulns to kill a suit, suddenly it takes 10 wounds, 5 failed invulns. It doesn't quite damage double the output, but it puts it pretty close. 3 damage weapons as well, goes from needing 2 fail save to needing 3. It's really nice into making...
It's so good at messing with the maths.
Absolutely, yeah. Much better than the Feel No Pain. That it's a much better strat there. All right, great strats, and we do have a list here that was written by 6++'s Connor. We have been fairly active in the team chat. There's a good 4 or 5 of us all playing Tau and looking at different lists and practicing things. I've shamelessly stolen Connor's list. Thanks, Connor. This is the one that I like the most out of all the variants we've seen so far. So he's gone pretty simple. You've got a Cold Star Commander with 4 fusion blasters, weapon support system to ignore hit modifiers, and a shield drone just for a little bit of extra tankiness and extra wound there. Got a Cold Star Commander who has got the high output burst cannon, 2 burst cannons, 1 cyclic iron blaster, weapon support system, and shield drone. There's an ethereal for the command point regen. because this is the sort of list where you want to be playing aggressively, but you also have lots of scoring units. So you might be looking at something like, behind enemy lines and teleport home as getting that extra CP is quite nice.
Yeah.
Then you've got a Crisis Sunforge battlesuit unit with the Fusion Blasters. They obviously go with the Fusion Blaster Commander. Doubles the output, it's over doubles the output by putting the Cold Star Commander in there. That unit giving the Cold Star Commander the reroll wounds and damage is very nice. They've got shield and gun drone, just the standard loadout that you'll see. Then there's the Star Scythe battlesuits. 2 burst cannons, obviously goes with the Cold Star Commander as well. Shield and gun drone in there. Key to note that the Cold Star Commander has the enhancement that gives 2 units scout as well. We haven't listed it on there, but that is the enhancement we've taken on this one. Connor has taken a single unit of 3 broadside battlesuits. They've gone for the high yield missile pods, shield drone, and missile drone. We haven't listed it on here, but there is the weapon support system to ignore hit modifiers and also a seeker missile. Then we've got 2 Riptides, because Riptides are fantastic with lethal hits. They're also really, really good with advance and shoot. Getting those angles is really nice. Iron Accelerator, really punchy gun, especially when you're actually wounding the tough vehicles you want to put that damage 4 into. Twin plasma rifles, 2 missile drones as well. Puts out a lot of consistent shots there. 2 units of stealth drones, 2 units of Tetras, and then 2 units of Kroot Carnivores. It's got a little bit of everything. It's got 4 great units to do observing with. It's got chaff to screen the Kroot Carnivores. It's got high output with the broadsides, the crisis suits. It's surprisingly mobile. It can play from reserve. It can play on the board. I really like it. Any other thoughts on this one, John?
See, this feels like how I've always liked the idea of Tau kind of lists looking. It's a bit of everything.
Yeah.
All doing very different roles rather than his 3 big bricks of something just shooting stuff. This feels like it's got mission play. It's got the ability to react to what your opponent's doing as well. And I like the fact that this is kind of the way that the book's changed, that you've got the Cold Star Commander with the Fusion Blasters, and then as a result, the guys that are with them have got the same gun. And so it makes a unit obviously have targets that it's going to want to go against. And I think that's nice than having this unit's got 8 different guns that all go different places, which was counterintuitive to how the Great Good worked. So it's nice that it kind of it keeps your shooting kind of a bit more focused, which I like.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 things that we haven't mentioned nor put on the list, but it'll be seamless.
Goodness.
Don't worry. They'll appear in front of your eyes right now, or they might already be there.
They're already there.
2 units of breaches in Devilfish. The piece de resistance. How could we forget them? Yeah, 2 breaches, 2 Devilfish. Obviously, just great. Haven't gone for the supporting characters here, the Cadre Fireblades. They are good, but also they do just push that unit up in points a little bit.
Yeah.
Makes it a little harder to justify when you're using them as aggressive support pieces. So, that was the list. Quite a fun one to play with. I've been enjoying Tau. I will say I've more been on the receiving end of Tau as I've been practicing for a tournament this weekend. But very much looking forward to getting some more games with them once that commitment is out of the way. Thank you for watching as always. We'll be back next week with episode 3. I'm thinking Retaliation Cadre. How are you feeling about that one, John? You want to go for the battle suits?
Yeah, let's get out of the way, because then we can go to the best detachment after that, I suppose.
Oh, them's fighting words.
Yeah.
Them's are fighting words. All right. Thanks for watching. Please do drop us a like, subscribe, leave a comment with your thoughts and feedback below.